Greetings everybody, it's Jim. When I first started reading the rules to this game from Mayfair Games, I thought it was going to be a game that it was so simplistic that I was going to get it to the table, play it, and promptly put it away. And even though that is true, because it is a very quick game, the idea that the second assumption I had that I would never break it out again is completely wrong. There's a lot this game actually has to offer for the right crowd. Today I'm going to give you my review of The Castle from Mayfair Games. And just to let you know or remind you, Dungeon Runner, my game of solitaire fantasy adventure, is available on Kickstarter right now. There's 27 decks in all, but you don't need any of the previous ones to play. You can jump right in on this Kickstarter with Dungeon Runner. Check the link down below. So the premise of the castle is actually quite simple. Up to 6 players play characters that enter the castle from any of the 6 entry points on the map. Now their general objective is to free the princess, which is being held in a special cell in the near middle of the board. Okay, now the thing is, though, you would think that you could just make a straight line to get to the cell and there's no reason to go all over the map. Well, that's not necessarily true because you need 2 keys to open the door of the cell and you need to find them. There's an A key and there's a B key, so there's specific keys. And of course, there's also 2 skeleton keys on the map too, so there's a total of 4 keys. The skeleton keys, of course, can replace the A and the B key. All right, so now there are other reasons that you may find yourself in a quick retreat off the map, though, that being that you're wounded, because, I mean, you'll score no points if you're dead. So sometimes you'll find yourself making a hasty retreat because something is better than nothing. Players have 3 different character types that they play. The fighters being the most, straightforward with 10 hit points, and that's pretty much what they got. Clerics have 8 hit points, but they have the bonuses of being immune to curses if you find them along the way, and they have a bonus to the undead against the undead. The wizards have, of course, only 6 hit points, but they have powerful spells that they can cast often. It becomes very apparent that when you start playing the castle, if you were to just take one character and try to solo it and save the princess yourself, you're up against it. It's not likely to happen. But even when you're playing 1 and 2 player games, they say that you take 2 characters each. And when you're playing with 3 or more, then you're encouraged to form groups and alliances that go in as separate groups in the castle in the game. But they do have 6 spots across the castle in case everybody wants to go solo and do it themselves. Now, of course, this kind of leads to the idea that they don't even specifically say, but when groups meet each other in the castle, are they friendly? Are they against each other by default? I would think because of the fact that, if you have 6 entrances with 6 players, and they all go in solo and they're really going to be up against it, like I said, chances are they're going to want to find each other in the castle and group up, which may be an interesting option, optional scenario where they are forced to enter the castle from 6 different sides and find each other. That would be interesting as well. But one of the things about these groups that makes this special, and I'll get into this later, is the idea that this game is so fast. It's like 15 to 20 minutes when you start playing it. That playing it once is not the idea. You're actually supposed to play 3 to 5 games, and then you'll notice that in the beginning of every run, that alliances will shift. It's like, oh, that guy's in the lead. We're going to find one. We're going to leave him on his own. He's got so much gold. He's fending for himself. Then we'll go in. There's going to be a lot of that, and that is why I'm thinking this game is perfect for the right crowd. That being children. Combat, of course, in this game is going to be very straightforward, but they do it pretty well. It's 1 die resolution. Basically, you can cast spells during combat, but you can do that before combat. Some spells that make you wait till after. But generally, you're picking 1 character out of your group. Maybe you're going solo, but if you're in a group, you're picking 1 person to represent that round. And then that character rolls 1d6, and that is the amount of damage that the monster is taking. If the character is a wizard, it's -1 to the die roll, but that's how much simply the monster is taking. Then you take that same die roll and you check the chart. So for instance, you go to monsters, and you see in the upper left there, you see Behemoth. Let's use that as an example. You roll a 4. The behemoth takes 4 points of damage, but we look at the 4 and then you take 2. And as you can see, there's a trend on these die rolls. Basically, if you do a lot of damage to the monster, you're not taking as much damage back, okay, and sometimes none, right? Then if we look at the right side, I have an idea that, how I was saying that whether or not groups would be allies or not if they meet. I think that it's an option either way, because when we look at the spells on the bottom right here, there's one that says gold to lead, number 3, gold to lead. What else would you be doing that for in the game? You would definitely be doing it against some other group or somebody that's got more points, right? So that's pretty interesting there. But yeah, very, very simple, straightforward combat system. So here we have a little look at setup, and as you can see, every room is filled in the game with the exception of the princess in her cell. Every room has got one black marker face down, which is of course the monsters, and one face down gold marker, which is the treasure. Now the black markers, the monsters can be anything from gargoyles and behemoths, really tough, to goblins, and even what they say is fungus. Okay, bring out your +1 Clorox bottle, right? And now the treasures, not all that glitters as gold. Some of the treasures actually have curses or traps. Now, one thing I found funny here was out of the characters you can choose, they didn't make a room for a thief. And why is that? I had to suspect it was something, because thieves could obviously be immune to traps, as clerics could be immune to curses, which they are. So why not thieves? And I'm thinking is because of the complication of the issue of stealing things other than that. You're going to want to have that. And if groups are meeting groups, how do you do that? I mean, wouldn't that start a fight automatically? I mean, or if you're in an alliance now, well, would the thief steal from his own group? It probably is why they didn't have thieves in the game. So as I mentioned, wizard spells are in the game and can be pretty powerful. I mean, some of them are cast before movement, some of them are cast before combat, some of them during combat. But the wizard has to roll each time to cast a spell. So if they roll a 1, there's magical feedback and they take a hit themselves, and when they only have 6 hit points, that could be pretty nasty. A 2 generally fails, but a 3 or more always succeeds, and if you roll a 6, sometimes there's even a little bit more of a bonus. Now, one thing I did notice while I was looking at these spells, and the wizard spells, this is from the 2nd edition, and I can tell that because, I mean, I got this image from Board Game Geek, but they don't have the gold to lead spell anymore, which was, of course, I have to think, I didn't play with multiple people, but I mean, I have to think that's for when groups meet each other and you can say, ha, have at you, and you're in the lead, so I'm going to knock away, I'm going to take this and I'm going to knock all your points away that you've gained so far. I don't know why they got rid of it. Did they feel like it was more inclined to make everybody fight each other in the game? I thought that was part of the point, which is going to get to my next section about what this game is really about. The castle is actually a game of diplomacy. There's no doubt in my mind, and I love it because of it. Because I love games like Twilight Imperium, and of course I have Dune, but those are really longer games, and yeah, they have alliances, and there's some payoff for it, but there's a lot of there's just a lot going on. You have to invest a lot of time to play. But the castle plays in 15 minutes, even with 6 people, because you're playing in groups at that point. It feels like 2 or 3 players, really. And you can play it real quick, and they say that you're supposed to play 3 to 5 games in a night, so as not to let any single die roll or line of the tiles affect anything, because it can be very lucky, whether it be die rolls or where the keys are placed. You could find yourself finding all the keys right along the path, the simple path to the princess and stuff. But the idea is to play more than 3 games, and then the winner is the one that has the most gold. Of course, what's that going to mean? That means there's going to be shifting alliances, and even mid-game. Of course, there's going to be shifting alliances before the game begins, because, okay, we'll group, we'll leave him alone. But even in-game, will people form alliances, or will they attack each other in the castle? This is something that is just beautiful to me, because it just brings all that drama real quick, and it shifts, because as the game shifts, alliances will shift and so on. And I definitely see this being great fun for kids. So now I'm very glad I got the first version of the castle, because of what I suspect might have happened in the second one. I've still verified, but at first I thought it was supposed to be the same game. So why did I pick this version of the castle to begin with? Usually they make changes in the 2nd or 3rd edition, and 75% of the time they're better, right? But the thing is, not suspecting there was any change in the game, it was because of the artwork. Okay, because it's a Mayfair game in the early 1980s, and at this point, like I mentioned early in my other videos, my first games that were weird to me and out of the mainstream was Steve Jackson's Illuminati and Ragnarok from SPI. But coming in at a close third to seventh, I don't know when I got it, was Mayfair Games' game Encounters. All right, so and you look at that artwork there, it kind of reminded me of that, and so it's the same flow, and so I wanted that version. Simple as that. And Encounters, of course, is a solitaire game that I plan on picking up someday and just finding it for a good price so I can grab it again and just have it on my shelf, because it really was a great little solo game, and that brings me to maybe had some influence on when I made Dungeon Runner. And because you made it at the end of this video, let me give you a little preview of what's to come in certain future videos, and one of them is going to be Harry Harrison's The Return of the Stainless Steel Rat. I wasn't familiar with Harry Harrison's work. I just knew that I've heard of the Stainless Steel Rat for a very long time, and in Ares Magazine, where this game came from SPI in 1981, they actually give you a little snippet of the story behind this, and it's only about 4 pages long, but I found it very 1950s enjoyable. And another thing about the game is they seem to put a little bit more production into it. I mean, they always did in SPI, don't get me wrong, but this one just seemed different with the way different map and everything. And the counters were actually some of those longer ones, longer rectangles, which is about the size of 2 counters. So it's kind of exciting to see some game that's like totally different than that. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting this. I already have it on the table. I'm just waiting to play it, but to definitely show you what it's all about. And by the way, just one more reminder, check out Dungeon Runner below, 27 decks in all, fantasy solitaire adventure game. I think you're going to enjoy it. Have a good day, and I'll see you next video.